We are stardust. We're golden, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden.
Right, I gave the morning lecture on hummingbirds, and the idea here with this conference is to really interest people in native plants. And plants on their own merits, like a beautiful thing like this cardinal flower, will do that, but when you tie in the animal connections, a lot more people become interested, because native plants are totally co-evolved with native animals, and we really want to get that message across. Everyone likes hummingbirds, or at least I've not yet met a person who doesn't. And you can put up feeders and lure them in, but an even better way to lure them in is to plant natives like this cardinal flower. They love these. If you have cardinal flower in your yard, you will probably get hummingbirds too.
It's a beautiful plant too.
It's gorgeous, absolutely wonderful, and it's they're attracted to the red. That's one of the lures. But they have a long corolla tube, and that's a hummingbird adaptation. So the long bill gets down into the corolla tube and gets to the nectar. And it's one of many species that are essentially hummingbird evolved for pollination by hummingbirds. It's to me, and I think many people, of having natives intermixed with the garden, not to the exclusion of all the non-native things, but the more natives that are mixed in, the more intellectually stimulating the garden becomes. This is profound. To an ornamental garden of non-native plants, hostas, whatever the case may be, highly structured, of a non-native, they'll look good on one plane, and that's aesthetic. They'll be soundless. You won't hear any of the singing insects, because they can't live on those. There won't be many birds, there won't be many other insects. Conversely, if you walk into a nice garden that's intermixed with natives, the number of animals just skyrockets. And this is visually stimulating. It's intellectually stimulating if you want to figure out what all these little insects are. Butterflies, galore. So now you have this wonderful palette of winged creatures that almost everyone likes flying around because they're attracted to those plants. And then sound, okay? When a lot of these native plants are in full bloom in mid to late summer in the gardenscape, the singing insects, they live on those too. So now at night you have this wonderful symphony of sound of this tree crickets and meadow katydids, all these things that sing that people really like. But the connection isn't often made that it's the native plants that attract those insects.
What sort of value have you received from planting native plants in your yard? Why would you encourage someone to do this?
Oh, I would encourage it because, first of all, I mean, it increases diversity of wildlife that comes to your yard. So, I mean, we're not only talking insects and butterflies, things like that. Birds, I'm seeing more mammals. I mean, it's things that I've never seen before are starting to come, and they feel at home there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have a family of fox that come, you know, a few times a week. I have a mink that comes, I see a couple times a year, come down to the creek and spend some time down there. I've got a pond on the place. I've had osprey come through now, and in the spring and the fall during migration. I've had eagles overwinter around my pond. So I mean, it's part of a migration circle that it visits my pond for a while, then goes to a stream, and then goes back to another pond. So you'll see it a few times.
That is so exciting. It's exciting to just come home to your house.
Right.
And I believe maybe 8 to 10 years ago, I began to realize that, you know, I wasn't seeing as many insects, box turtles, butterflies, things that I had been accustomed to seeing. And I just started looking into it. I have a background in biology, I have a degree in biology, and I realized that we had taken out the very bottom layer of the whole web of life, essentially, which is the plants. We have bought plants that don't nurture the insects, and therefore, you know, there's nothing for the birds to eat. There's nothing for the butterflies to raise their larvae on, and I felt a sense of responsibility. You know, if we were going to start chopping up the environment and things were degrading so quickly, I thought, well, what can I do as one person to, you know, I can't save the polar ice caps, but I can save my piece of the earth, which it's 2 acres at this point, and you can do quite a bit with 2 acres. So I started transforming my yard little by little, corner by corner, edge by edge, moving it in, planting islands, which most individuals have in their yard, an island of some sort. It's a great way to start. And I got involved with native plants, got to know them intimately, made a lot of mistakes, what not to put where, like all gardeners do, and started moving things to where they belonged. And it's becoming a very balanced ecosystem in my yard.
What a thrill.
It's wonderful. This year I have a fox who has decided that my yard is his yard, and he's marking his territory, and he hunts rabbits in my yard, and I have the snakes and the turtles and all the butterflies and fireflies. I don't even go in the house. I'm outside continuously watching the show.
That is such a beautiful way to state the importance of this for you. I really appreciate you sharing it.
Well, thank you,
Yeah,
Peg.
an honor to know you. What a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Young stardust. We're golden, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden.